Chris Matthews and Tulsi Gabbard, and the first question is to you. Tulsi, should women be required to register for the military draft? I saw this. This is so interesting. The Democrats, so great at politics. I don't know why they brought it up now. I mean, men, I almost forgot this. Men do still have to register for the draft. Nobody gets as...
Well, this is actually something that they also just changed in the legislation through the National Defense Authorization Act. Just a few weeks ago, is now men don't have to register because they're automatic.
All right, everyone. Today we're diving into a heated moment that set Bill Maher's show on fire. Tulsi Gabbard and Bill Maher went head-to-head in a tense exchange that exploded when the military draft came up, especially the controversial idea of requiring women to register. Just when things couldn't get any more intense, Chris Matthews jumped in with his own take, adding even more fuel to an already fiery debate. Tulsi didn't hold back, blasting politicians for dragging the country into endless wars Americans never asked for. Bill pushed back hard, questioning why this conversation is even happening now, with a major election looming. What started as a policy discussion quickly turned into a high-stakes clash over war, power, politics, and the future of the U.S. military. In this video, we break it all down. What was said, what was left unsaid, and why it matters going forward. Trust me, this is one debate you do not want to miss. Let's get into it.
Interesting, the Democrats, so great at politics. I don't know why they brought it up now. I mean, men, I almost forgot this. Men do still have to register for the draft. Nobody gets as...
Well, this is actually something that they also just changed in the legislation through the National Defense Authorization Act. Just a few weeks ago, is now men don't have to register because they're automatically registering them as soon as they turn 18.
Okay.
So you don't have to actually, you don't get to fill out a card or anything anymore.
But I remember I was about to be registered when I just turned 17 in 1973 when they were still drafting for Vietnam, and it was like, that was the year. It was like, I was like, oh boy, did I luck out on that one. But they still registered you. Now the Democrats in an election year have brought this up for I don't know what reason, saying now we want women to register because there's 250,000 women in the military right now. And if something was so catastrophic that we did have to draft people, why shouldn't women go? But why bring it up in an election year are my two questions.
Well, first of all, we shouldn't have a draft.
At all?
No, I don't think so.
What if it's an emergency?
Well, the fact that they're bringing this up now, to me, points to the fact that the only reason we would need a draft is because our warmongering politicians are starting wars that they know the American people aren't going to support.
All right, let's break down one of the night's most explosive moments. Bill Maher looked genuinely baffled, confused about why Democrats would even raise the idea of mandatory draft registration for women in the middle of an election year. He pointed out the obvious. Men are already automatically registered at 18, and there's no active draft looming. So why stir this hornet's nest now? Maher framed it as political self-sabotage. In his view, bringing up such a controversial issue risks alienating voters at a time when people are more focused on real, everyday struggles. Things like the economy, healthcare, rent, and just getting by, not hypothetical wars. To him, it was just another example of Democrats seeming out of touch with what voters actually care about. Then Tulsi Gabbard stepped in, and she didn't hold back. She made it clear this isn't about women being drafted. She's against the draft entirely. Her argument hit the heart of the matter. A draft is only ever necessary because politicians drag the country into reckless, unnecessary wars that most Americans never wanted. As she put it, this isn't about equality or fairness. It's about laying the groundwork for more war. Tulsi pointed to moments like Pearl Harbor and 9/11 when Americans volunteered because there was a clear, immediate threat. Then she contrasted that with conflicts like Iraq and Afghanistan, where public support was shaky from the start. Her message was sharp and simple. Americans will step up when it truly matters, but they shouldn't be forced to fight wars driven by political agendas rather than genuine national defense. It was easily one of the night's most intense exchanges, leaving heavy questions about the country's direction and who's really making the decisions when it comes to war and peace in America.
from all across the country set aside their lives and volunteered because they wanted to go and fight for freedom and security and for peace. And you look at what happened after the attack on 9/11, so many Americans like myself, we enlisted to be able to ensure the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. And so when you look, to me, it's a big red flag that they're bringing this up right now. First of all, as we have multiple wars burgeoning around the world. But as a I've been deployed 3 times to different war zones. I don't want to be in a foxhole next to somebody who doesn't want to be there. First of all, that bond and that trust that exists between servicemen and women who are, bullets are flying is so essential. You don't want to have somebody next to you who's like, hey, I don't want to be here. I don't want any part of this. That
it's
creates
just numbers.
a huge problem.
Come on. Sometimes
Well,
it's just
you're talking about life and death. You're talking about life and death.
I know, but exactly. And if we need that numbers of troops, they just aren't. The people in Gen Z, they're not going to volunteer. I've seen videos of them talking about it. I'm like, no, you're right. This generation can't do it. The number of people you're going to have is just going to be, it's going to be a smaller force. Compared to, how many, there's over 1 billion Chinese people if the war breaks out with them. I don't want to get cataclysmic about this.
These wars don't just happen out of thin air. I think that's my point.
No, but we didn't start them. We didn't invade Ukraine and we didn't attack Israel. That's a silly thing to say.
All right. Maher pushed the conversation even further, calling out what he sees as a major generational shift. He pointed directly at Gen Z and their growing reluctance to serve in the military. And he wasn't just speculating, he cited the flood of viral videos where young people openly say they have zero interest in joining the armed forces. Some even joking about dodging a draft that hasn't been reinstated. Maher wasn't laughing. To him, this isn't just a social media trend, it's a serious warning sign. His argument, past generations, whether they agreed with specific wars or not, still felt a strong sense of duty to defend the country. Service, patriotism, and answering the call were cultural expectations. But that mindset, he says, is disappearing fast, and it's alarming that if the US faced a major conflict tomorrow, would there even be enough people willing to step up? Or have years of government disillusionment, combined with the trauma and fallout from wars like Iraq and Afghanistan, left a whole generation feeling this fight isn't theirs? This is where the conversation gets uncomfortable. It's not about Gen Z being lazy or soft, as critics often claim. It's about trust, whether people believe the cause is real, whether leaders are honest, and whether the sacrifices asked of them actually matter. And if that trust is gone, Maher might be right. The future of military recruitment, and maybe even the foundation of national defense itself, could be hanging by a thread.
Treaty. That's it. That's been true from the very beginning.
Does that mean giving up Ukrainian land?
It means, I think, both sides, like in all treaties, will end up having to surrender some portion of what they want in order to achieve that peace treaty. The sad thing is that it is the Ukrainian people and their lives who are being expended the longer this war goes on, even though those who are actually paying attention know that this is only ever going to end at any point with that negotiated peaceful.
On the other side of the debate, Tulsi Gabbard brings something most politicians simply don't: real-world experience. She's served in the military. She's seen war up close. For her, these aren't abstract theories or talking points. This is lived reality. Tulsi makes it clear. War isn't an intellectual exercise or a political strategy. It's life and death. It's the real cost of sending people into harm's way. Her stance is firm. War should always be a last resort, used only when absolutely necessary to protect the country and defend the freedoms we hold dear. She highlights the human toll, the lives lost, the permanent injuries, and the mental scars that stay with service members long after the fighting ends. Her perspective isn't shaped by ideology, it's shaped by experience. And it raises an uncomfortable but vital question. Are we being responsible in how we talk about war? The debate between Bill Maher and Tulsi Gabbard was intense, with both bringing very different perspectives to the table. Bill Maher focused on the political angle and the timing, expressing genuine confusion over why Democrats were even discussing mandatory draft registration for women in an election year, when men are already automatically registered and there's no active draft. His point was that raising such a controversial issue risks alienating voters and distracts from the real concerns people care about. Things like the economy, healthcare, and rising costs of living. On the other side, Tulsi Gabbard brought her real-world military experience to the discussion, making it clear this isn't an abstract debate. It's about life and death consequence. She argued that war should always be a last resort, something only undertaken when national defense truly requires it, and emphasized the human cost, lives lost, permanent injuries, and long-term mental scars on service members. While Maher highlighted generational shifts and the growing distrust in government among young people, Tulsi underscored practical experience and accountability, pointing out that Americans step up when it truly matters, but shouldn't be forced to fight wars driven by political agendas. The clash wasn't just about words, it was a collision of ideology, timing, and lived experience, leaving the audience with tough questions about the future of U.S. military engagement and who really decides when the country goes to war.